Hi, it's Zoe. Welcome to Flosstube number 6. I hope everyone is doing great. And I have some stuff to talk about today involving a finish and the new project I started. So yeah, it's Saturday afternoon. It's a rainy afternoon, so hopefully the lighting isn't too bad in here. And we just got done hosting my 7-year-old's birthday party, which is why I can see an orange balloon behind me, and there's some party blowers and stuff on the table behind me. But my husband has again left to go to the gym with all 3 kids, which means I am home alone in a quiet house, and it is wonderful. And I am here recording my Flosstube with all of you guys. So let's see. First, I will talk about my finish, which I love. I'm really happy with how it turned out. So it was close to being finished last week. It was a pretty small project, which is what I like to work on. It is Be Jolly from RedBearDesign on Etsy, and I love this project. It is on 16 count white Aida with a called for DMC. The red in this is DMC 666, which is kind of an ominous sounding color number, but it's this very vibrant, rich red, and I just love that color, and there's a lot of it in this piece. So yeah, it was my first project on 16 count Aida, and I really like how that turned out. I'll talk more about count of fabric and my preferences in a little bit when I talk about my new start, but again, this is Be Jolly from RedBearDesign, and I'm just really pleased with how it turned out. It was also really enjoyable to stitch. Like, I had a lot of fun doing it, and I'm definitely a process stitcher. I'm not a product stitcher. I usually don't finish my pieces. I'm kind of a minimalist when it comes to decorating. My husband would probably say I'm even more than a minimalist. I don't know what that is because I just don't tend to decorate. But I really like the process of stitching, and to me, just the time that you spend looking at the project while you're stitching is the time that I'm enjoying it and appreciating the beauty of the design. And after that, if someone wants to finish it, great, but I feel like I've had a complete experience at that point just going through the stitching process. So Be Jolly, RedBearDesign, super fun stitch. I like a lot of other designs in their shop too. They have a lot of small, cute pieces. So that was my finish, and I finished it, and it's almost like you're sad when you're finishing it because you really liked stitching it, and then you have to figure out what to stitch next. And for whatever reason, that part of the process is really difficult for me. Starting a new project, I get stressed out and overwhelmed, and it seems really strange to say that I get stressed out by cross stitch, because cross stitch seems like a pretty harmless activity that would not cause stress, but I totally get stressed out. And I think making a decision about not just what design, but then what fabric and what thread and everything else, there's just a lot of decisions and a lot of options, and I find that challenging. So I finished my design that I really liked, and then I had a couple options. My original plan was to start this picture, sorry about the glare, from the Floss box, which is spring cross stitch number 5. But then on impulse, I bought another chart, and it wasn't even a cross stitch chart. It was a counted needlepoint chart. I know, crazy, right? Like, total departure. I have done needlepoint before. I like pretty much all needlework. Anything involving yarn or fabric, I like it. So not totally new, but different from cross stitch. And the pattern that I bought is called Royal by Orna Willis. It's a beautiful counted design. It comes in 2 colorways, which is what you're looking at in the picture there. And so I bought this project, or I bought the chart for it. And the chart itself was $20, which is fine because it has very detailed instructions. But all the called for threads, which part of why I bought it was because I liked how it looked in the model piece that was photographed, and so it would be great to use the called for threads. They're all silks and they're all hand dyed and expensive. So I don't know. So then I kind of was in this weird place where I wasn't willing to fork over the cash to buy all of the materials, but I really wanted to make it. So I ended up starting it twice. So kind of where I landed was, let me just try this and see if I think I like counted canvas right now, and I want to be doing that. I did not buy canvas. I did not buy any of the called for threads, but I just tried it. And actually, I think I'm good with that. It was interesting to try. I definitely got to understand how the stitches worked, which is what I mostly wanted to do. So the first time I started it on Aida, of course, for a needlepoint, just do it on Aida, right? It worked fine to do it on Aida, and honestly, I think that was okay, not having canvas around. So this is 14 count Aida, and I just did a little tiny bit of it. Let me put paper behind that. I'm not sure what that looks like to you guys. I just did a little bit of the first square to see how the stitches worked. And that was interesting. And the stitches are really cool because there's kind of like a woven effect with them and really interesting texture. So I did that, and I thought I kind of like that. Let me try it in different colors on a different count of Aida and see what that's like. So then I started it again. And this is, I got a little further on this one, you will see. This is 18 count Aida. Put my paper behind it. This is 18 count Aida, 2 strands of DMC floss for the most part. And I went a little further in the design. And I also like that. But I decided at the end of this exercise that I probably prefer cross stitch right now. There's just so many cross stitch designs that I would love to stitch. And I also decided that if I do this project, which again, I'll show you the original picture of the project. If I do this project, I would love to do it in the called for materials. I think that would be really beautiful. And I still don't want to spend that much money on that right now. So it was a fun experiment to try it, and I'm good, and that's it. So then I went back to deciding I would stitch my happy unicorn piece. And I started that. I had bought fabric for that. I think I showed it in the last episode. That is 18 count blue Aida. And I started on the Aida, and I thought, wow, I really don't like stitching on 18 count. And part of that is just because it's smaller and more finicky. Part of that is because I don't feel like I can get as good stitch quality with 2 strands as I do on 16 count. The coverage is really good on 18 count, but I don't feel like my stitches look as neat. They're just a little bit more bunched together and not as regular. Maybe that's a matter of practice, I don't know. Also, the fabric that I was stitching on was a lot more drapey than the Aida I normally use, which is just the Aida from Joann that's very stiff. And I stitch without a frame. So I was not liking the feel of the fabric in my hand. And since I'm a process stitcher, I want to enjoy stitching. And if that's not enough, the chart is in black and white. And everything else I bought from Etsy is in color. And I print it out on my color printer, and I love stitching from a color pattern. And I do not love stitching from this black and white chart. I think I actually like looking at the chart in addition to looking at the stitching as I'm doing it. And having a black and white chart full of symbols, not enjoyable. So there were like 4 things about this project that I did not like, and I was just really missing my last project, and I don't know. I realize I'm talking about this with a lot of emotion. Do any of you feel this way too? Do you get stressed out about cross stitch? Do you get emotional about it? Again, it seems so silly, but I totally do. So yeah. So then I was like, well, maybe I just want to do it on Aida. Maybe I don't want to do it, not on Aida. Maybe I want to do it on 14 count instead of 18 count. So I started it on 14 count. So another project I've now started twice without getting very far. So this is the project. Oh, where'd my paper go? So I just started the very beginning of it. You can see the little smiley face sun and the rainbow. Started that on 14 count Aida and didn't like it. So I went back to my 18 count. Even though I wasn't enjoying stitching on it, I kept going and it did get better. I got more used to it, and I can show you where I am with that now. Here is where I am. Okay, so hopefully you can see that well. I think it is adorable. I really like visually how this is turning out. And I think that I will finish this project. Normally I do stitching on a project monogamously. I just stitch on one thing at a time. This one, I think I am going to take a break from. I am taking a break from it right now, but I do think I will come back and just do it in smaller pieces because I do really like how it looks. I like on the 18 count, it has this almost miniature feel to it, and I want to finish it. So taking a little break from it, but I will be back. So that again is Spring Cross Stitch number 5 from the Floss box. All right, so then I decided I wanted to take a break from that. So I started another project because normally I stitched on one project for a few weeks at a time, and that just totally went out the window this week. And I started like 3 different projects 6 times, literally. So here is the new project I'm starting. This is from, let's see if I can get rid of the glare. This is a Christmas tree pattern, a modern Christmas tree pattern from Lucky Star Stitches. I think it's just called Christmas Tree. It's not even really labeled on Christmas Tree Cross Stitch pattern. They also have a shop on Etsy, and I'll show the finished one more time. I love just that modern aesthetic with the sort of nod to almost like a Scandinavian design. A lot of people might look at all of those stripes and the solid stitching and say that looks boring, but I love that. I love a pattern where you don't have to look at the chart the whole time. And that's the opposite of the project I showed right before this with the unicorn, where you have to look at the chart constantly because they're just these little blocks of color. So I've now started this project twice too. Once, here's my original start, not that far yet. This is 16 count white Aida. I like this. I may keep stitching this. But then today I went to Stitchville, which is my local needlework shop, LNS. I think that's what that stands for, my LNS. And I bought linen. And if you've seen my other videos, I really like Aida, but I keep thinking that I want to continue to practice on linen. And I thought this would be a great project. Here's my start. I just started this afternoon. This is Belfast, 32 count. I like the 32 count better than the 28 count. I don't think it's that much harder to see, and I think it looks better. So this is 32 count Belfast, same design. I think this is going to be great to practice on with the linen because it is a lot of solid stitching, so you're not like going off and having to count a lot. So this is actually what I'm going to be working on after this video is done. And yeah, I'm really excited to stitch more on linen. Cross stitch is so interesting how many opportunities there are to try different things. So I gotta go because my phone is gonna cut out, but I hope you guys have a great week and thanks for joining. Bye.